Kyle Shanahan was dodgy on the diagnosis, but it's notable that ribs are no longer part of Christian McCaffrey's injury designation.
Okay.
It seems to signal that he has a chance to play Monday in Minnesota.
It's just the oblique is what you're reading based on.
Debo shoulder, Trent ankle, Greenlaw hamstring, Christian oblique, all listed as day-to-day by Kyle Shanahan just a couple of hours ago.
And I think that's why he was playing the Creed. The door's wide open for these three to play Monday night. The door's wide open. You're welcome. And I think that's the message. I'll take a 3. That's the message he's sending.
Is it?
Is that, the door's wide open for them to potentially play
or
on
just,
Monday.
I don't want to profile, but it feels like a band that Kirk Cousins really likes. I'm just saying it does. I watched him on quarterbacks. Doesn't he feel like a Creed guy?
Totally.
Right? In Minnesota, very, very religious. You already said Creed is a very religious band.
Yep.
Yeah. I think this is a nod to Kirk Cousins. Or maybe they're trying to, They're
trying to troll their own team to get them motivated?
I guess. I don't know. But I don't like it. I don't like any part of this.
Yeah, I get that. And ultimately,
it's not good.
We sit here now, 94 hours away from, actually 98 hours away from kick.
Hold on. Are you excited about Tuesday night?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very excited about Tuesday night.
Wouldn't I be able to argue, and this is, I get it, this is a stupid comparison. This is that they've got nothing to do with each other.
Right.
Monday is a way bigger deal. It is a way, way, way bigger deal. If the Warriors lose Tuesday, then they're 0-1.
I don't think it's fair to say what's a bigger deal in terms of...
Why not?
Because what are you more excited about? Yes, any football game is bigger than any basketball game.
Right, but it's opening night, and it's Katie's return and all of that. But
and it's CP3's debut.
Yeah. Like, I'm not calling it nothing.
I know.
This is a massive game for the 49ers.
It's a big game.
It's a massive game.
Dallas was a massive game. This is not a massive game. This is a big game.
I disagree because they all end up being one in the standings. It is the
Correct.
It is the first time that Brock Purdy is coming off of a loss in his career. It is a primetime game against a quarterback who literally has a reputation for stinking in the middle of primetime. You are headed toward coming back home and then going on a bye. So you're in that tone-setting period in terms of, was last week something we can blow off, or is there an actual issue here? That, to me, is what's on the line here Monday night.
Yeah.
It's also all of the Cousins-Shanahan stuff we've been dealing with for 5 years. The 49ers absolutely have got to win this game. They have got to go out and look good. Are
you calling it a must-win?
Well, not more so than what you would feel about every football game. They all feel like must-wins. But
it's football.
But
I get that.
But when you put in some of the context that we're experiencing with the 49ers, I think it is incredibly important that they react well to what happened last week.
Sure. But to me, this is a Tier 2 game for the 49ers. And if you want to talk about the Tier 1 games this year, you've got the Dallas game in primetime. You've got the Philadelphia game on the road at Philadelphia. And that, to me, is it for the Tier 1 games. And I do tiers a little bit differently than everyone else. I think about it in terms of a pyramid. So at the top of the pyramid is Tier 1. So it's obviously going to be not as wide as the resultant tiers below. So for me, the only two games that are Tier 1, absolutely gigantic games, massive games, as you called it, Philadelphia and Dallas. Then you get down to the next tier, and I'd put this one in there because it's prime time, and it's against Kirk Cousins, and it's against a team that was a playoff team. They probably won't be. I'd put the Seattle game on Thanksgiving in that second tier. And you could even look at the Giants game, the home opener.
How about Baltimore
in prime time?
Christmas night?
Baltimore is another game that I would put in Tier 2.
So I get what you're saying from the opponent standpoint, but that's not how I'm looking at it.
And the spot, too.
I'm looking at it in terms of what happened last week.
Sure.
That's it.
You lost.
This was not and I wasn't thinking about it in terms of tiers, but this is a bigger game than I would have said that it was 6 days ago, but then they went out and lost a football game in Cleveland, and now they take their talents to Minnesota and primetime in a game where they might be hampered by injury. And I think, especially for Brock, for Kyle too, and maybe even for Jake Moody, who's going to be in a weather-controlled environment, this is an incredibly important game for them to come out and play well.
Oh, it's a big game. I'm not saying it's not a big game, but I don't think it is massive. Now, if you lose to Minnesota, then next week against Cincinnati will be bigger than it otherwise would be. If you beat Minnesota, then the Cincinnati game next week doesn't have the same level of import. I get that. In terms of what happens the week before definitely changes the way you look at every individual game. The fact that this game is coming off a loss, your first loss, it does make it feel bigger, but think about what happens if you lose. Well, you're still in first in the division, and you may still be tied for first in the conference if Detroit loses and Philadelphia loses.
Yeah, but
so it's not that devastating.
Those are big ifs, and you know, you don't want to be scoreboard watching and worrying about what other people are doing.
You don't, but we already know that Philadelphia is going to probably lose 3 or 4.
Yeah, but we're sitting here talking about the 1 seed as a goal. If the 1 seed is a goal, look, you shouldn't be running around losing to teams with losing records. You shouldn't be doing that. Certainly not back-to-back. This is not a we lose back-to-back games type of a team, in my opinion. And, oh, by the way, for selfish reasons, I really, really don't want the 49ers to look bad on Monday night because I do want Tuesday to be awesome. And I'm going to be in a bad mood on Tuesday if the 49ers...
You'll be in a bad mood anyway because it's Tuesday.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, and you're not a big Tuesday guy.
Well, I actually don't get in bad moods when the team loses. But, you get what I'm saying.
Totally.
I would love on Tuesday... There's to be Victory Tuesday, and we get to talk that out, and then it leads right into handing the baton down to Chase Center, and we can, here comes all the pregame festivities, and we're going to leave here and go right over there, and Kevin Durant, and all of the good stuff that's going to be going on that day. That's an important day, and the Niners are not allowed to mess it up. That's what I'm saying.
With a Monday loss.
Yes.
To Kirk Cousins,
it would
of all people.
It would mess it up.
It would hamper it a little bit, and I wonder about, where fans are at, 888-957-9570 in terms of your excitement level, because football is king. And a Monday night game against Minnesota is big. But after last night and seeing what we saw with the preseason game and all the excitement around beating Sacramento again, are fans more hyped for Tuesday and the Warriors season opener at home or a Monday night game at Minnesota?
Matthew on YouTube says, is it a legacy game, Willard? Now, I know that's Steiny's thing.
Yeah.
I don't really like legacy games. To me, I don't even know if that exists. Certainly not short of, in football, a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Think about the QBs around the league in the NFL right now who've won a Super Bowl versus the ones who've only been to one. There's a lot, right? I think there are 4 who've won a Super Bowl. Do I have that right?
Active?
Correct. And that's if you include Aaron Rodgers, even though he's hurt. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, and what am I'm forgetting.
Pat Mahomes.
Mahomes. Oh,
he's won one.
So that's stupid.
Yeah.
So those 4. But think of all the guys who have been but didn't win.
Jared Goff.
Garoppolo.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts. Joe Burrow. It's a thing.
Jared Goff.
It changes things. Yes, you said it twice.
Oh, you didn't acknowledge it.
Yes, I did. I said yes.
Oh, sorry. You said Jimmy G.
Right. Garoppolo.
You couldn't wait to get Jimmy G in there.
Well, he's just so handsome. By the way, he's not playing this week. Whatever happened to the
doubtful,
back.
But
he's not playing.
No. Doubtful means you don't play.
Exactly. So anyway, point being is, I guess those are legacy games. No, you don't have a legacy game in week 7 on a Monday night.
PJ Walker last week, that was a legacy game.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it was a memorable one for him.
He knocked off an undefeated team.
And no one will worry about his legacy ever.
Well, his legacy, like his career right now, that's the high water mark for his career.
I bet in 20 years, you're going to have a hell of a time remembering his name when you go, God, remember when the Niners went to the
If you go to a barbecue and PJ Walker is there, he's going to mention that up front. Oh,
yeah.
PJ, you played in the league? Yeah, I was a third string and I knocked off the Niners. I told Nick Bosa, not today, Nick. It's my day.
Like I did throw 2 picks. And
whatever.
The other team had to miss a field
third.
goal at the end. But anyway, let's go to Dale in Walnut Creek. Hi, Dale. What are you doing?
Hey, guys, I'm listening to you, and I know I'm going to get blowback. I know I'm going to get blowback based on what you have just been saying. But I got to ask you the question. I know my answer.
I think I know what you're going to ask.
When would you rather have Christian McCaffrey play? On Monday night or at the end of this season and in the playoffs?
So
if Christian McCaffrey comes back and his usage rate, Kyle Shanahan is horrible at this, his usage rate is the same as it's been, he ain't going to be the same Christian McCaffrey in the playoffs. If he's not injured. He ain't going to be the same even if he's ready to play.
But Dale, you don't know that. That's an opinion, and it's about someone's health, so I don't even know how you can accurately quantify that. I guess that would be my answer. Like, I'm going to kind of sort of challenge your question. Would I rather have him Monday or January? Why can't I have both?
Because that's not the question.
But
would you rather have him Monday or January?
Well, obviously January. But
all right,
this
game is not as important as you're making it out to be. This game is not. It'd be great to win, but it's not as important. Not on Monday, a bye week, and then have him come back.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying to you, Dale, is that your premise is faulty because you have no evidence that him not playing Monday is going to do a damn thing for what happens next in the future or in January. That's all I'm saying. I don't think I ever said anything about this being as important as a playoff game. Obviously it's not. There is no regular season game that is as important as a playoff game. That doesn't exist. I find this to be a huge game, and not because Minnesota's the opponent, not because it's on prime time, mainly because they lost last week. That's why. It is. I am a huge believer. It's one of the things that actually helped shape the opinion that I had for years about Garoppolo. One of the things that helped shape the opinion I had about him was when he had a pick or when the other team scored on the 49ers, he was very good at the bounce back drive. And sometimes if he had a bad game, he was very good at the bounce back game. I think it's a huge component, not just of any athlete or team, it's a huge component of any human being, is your ability to handle a blow at something that goes the wrong direction, your ability to bounce back from that and as quickly as possible get that boat going back in the other direction again. Yeah. I value that big time. So that's why I think Monday is as big as I do.
Yeah, I just don't see it that way because it's just one of 17 and it's not a divisional game and it's not against Philadelphia. It's not against Dallas. And yeah, you should beat Minnesota. You're favored against Minnesota and you'd like to bounce back after a loss with a win. But if you happen to go out there and lose this game, you're 5-2. You're still in first in the division and you're still in the conversation to be the number one overall seed. We don't know what Philadelphia will do. We don't know what Detroit will do. You still have a head-to-head with Philadelphia, which can be a tiebreaker if you beat them. So, yes, you want to bounce back after a loss with a win, but I look at this in terms of games that you have on the schedule that are more important, and this is not the most important game.
That's interesting. I mean, it's not that I don't hear what you're saying. Nobody called it a death blow if they lose.
Right.
But the idea that we would blow off the Niners losing to a 2-4 football team after they lost last week as a 10-point favorite, I'm sorry. I find that to be a huge idea. That's a terrible, terrible reality if it goes that way.
Yeah, well, you lost to a 2-2 team last week, a team that wasn't very good, and you lost to a team in one way. Your field goal kicker missed a kick that prevented you from winning, and I know you lost many other ways throughout the course of that game. It came down to a kick that would have rescued you and kept you from the loss, and the kicker missed, and so you lost. And so if you go to Minnesota and you lose in the same fashion, I'm not saying that your kicker misses a kick again, but if you play a hard-fought game and you just come up short, one play here, one play there, and you lose, I don't think that it's a death blow. Now, if you go to Minnesota and you don't have your three big offensive players who may be sitting out, we don't know yet if they will, But if you go there and you lose 28-9 and you have no offense, well, now it's a totally different story. So I do think it depends on how it goes based on how we think about a loss if you lose.
Interesting. Yeah. I just like the overall concept I fully understand. No one would suggest that the Niners are like up a creek all season long if they lose. But this to me is sort of not how I view NFL games, especially when I view you as the best team in the NFL. You're not losing 2 in a row, especially when neither of those two teams have a winning record. The Vikings are fine. They're not the dregs of the league, but they're not that good, and they're missing their best player. So, and they might be missing their top pass rusher too. We were able to wrap our heads around the loss in Cleveland for a bunch of sort of circumstantial things. Oh, Moody missed a kick. The officials had some calls that were unfortunate because
Cleveland's defense was great.
Cleveland's defense is great.
Schwartz greater than Shanahan.
So what are we saying if they lose this one? This is not a great defense.
Well, it depends on how they lose it.
It's not a great offense. It's not a great anything. There's not even a great receiver on the field anymore. They're like, I don't even know outside of Cousins how many Vikings most of you could name going into this game. This is
defense is not terrible. They're middle of the road.
Great. Yeah, they're middle of the pack, I'd say, on both sides of the ball.
Right. They do have a pretty good front. They've got a couple of good pass rushers who can be disruptive.
One of them's hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think when you look at how this game could go, if you don't have McCaffrey and Debo, if you don't have Trent Williams, and we don't know yet what their official status will be, I know that all of them are day-to-day, and Kyle Shanahan, I'm reading the transcript of his press avail today, and he was very dismissive, if not frustrated, in terms of the Christian McCaffrey Q&A. A lot of short answers.
Interesting. In what way?
It was rapid fire. McCaffrey oblique. Does that mean the rib has been ruled out of the equation? It means just oblique. What was the results of the MRI? With Christian, oblique. Well, that's not answering the results of the MRI, and not that he has to give the results, but short answer. Does that suggest it's a strain? I don't know what it is. It's something that makes him day-to-day, though. Then are you expecting all three guys to play? McCaffrey, Debo, and Trent Williams? Not today.
TBD.
They're not practicing today. Elijah Mitchell? He's full go. Very short answers.
Well,
a little bit of a brusque back and forth. I haven't heard the audio. I'm reading it, and Shanahan at times has been more expansive in his answers.
Yeah,
but it feels to me like these answers are, him not wanting to exactly say what's going on, which he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
I get
that. It's an injury situation.
Right.
This is someone else's body, and they're asking for something firm 4 days before they need to be firm. So I'd love to hear it. But I get it.
Was the MRI on McCaffrey encouraging in your view? I thought it was. Anyone who's day-to-day, it means they've got a chance.
Yeah.
So it's not a long-term thing? No. It's just each day to the next day.
Interesting.
So they're all day-to-day? Yes, except Isaiah. He's limited. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, he doesn't want to expand. He doesn't want to promise anything. It's an injury situation.
I totally get it,
Coach
Mark.
is going to be like, I don't know, TBD, brothers.
All I'm saying is it reads like he is a little bit frustrated.
Sure.
And I'm sure he's frustrated because, they've got injuries, and he doesn't really know if they're going to be able to play on Monday. We're 4 days away.